Alright, hello people. Time for another rant review. I went back and watched Heroes, the series. And this is gonna be a bit of a long one because there's a lot to talk about about this series. I'm just going to go into spoilers on this one because I guess the short version, this series was really hit or miss for me. I liked season one overall. I liked it overall. It had really big lulls where there really wasn't much happening. They try to load too much backstory, cram too much backstory down your throat at once, stuff like that. And some of the characters, even in the very beginning, weren't that. Most of the characters were more interesting in season one than later on. Later on, they know about their powers, they know each other, and it makes it less interesting because there's not as much unknown factor for them as characters. They all kind of know who they are and what they're doing and what they can, what their powers are capable of and all that stuff. But for the most part, they're more interesting in season one, I guess. Where was I going with that? I don't even remember. Season one was good. Overall, it was good. Season two was terrible. I read up about it because season two is only, I think, 10 episodes or something like that. It's much shorter than the others. So there had to be something going on there, and apparently there was a writer's strike, and part of season 3 was supposed to be part of season 2, and then a whole nother part of season 2, which was supposed to be the beginning of season 2, was just cut completely. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't really care who's at blame or what the fault is. At the end of the day, season 2 sucks. It's bad. Season 2 is really, there's almost nothing to talk about, because there's nothing really good and nothing spectacular and nothing noteworthy at all. Season 3 was okay, really hit or miss. Some of the episodes were really bland and really boring. Some of the side plots were really uninteresting, and then some of them were really good. So yeah, it was like up and down. And then season 4 was more season 3, up and down. Some of it was really good, and a lot of it was really bad. So I don't know if I'd even recommend this series. There you go. There's the random short version. The long version with all the spoilers and all the talking. Like I said, this one's gonna be long because there's a lot to talk about for Heroes. Season 1. The best part about season 1, I kind of went over it, but they're not gods yet. And even the ones that don't end up being godly, stupid, overpowered, like Peter and Sylar, and like even some of them with just one power are extremely powerful, like Hero. I mean, if he wasn't such an adamant good guy, he could be an amazing villain. He's one of the few that doesn't ever turn to the dark side, hilariously enough. They all have their dark moments, except for Hero. He never really goes evil. He loses his memories, kind of once, and then he becomes like a child again, kind of once. But he's never evil. I mean, even the problems he causes for the other characters, they're all accidents. They're not intentional. So his character could have been really cool as evil. But bottom line, in season 1, the characters, they don't have a grasp on who they are yet, what their powers are, who their friends are, who they can trust, where their place is in the story, and all that stuff. So they're way more interesting because they're learning about themselves, right? And later on, especially in like season 3 and 4, everyone kind of knows who their friends are. Every once in a while, one person will do something that'll be suspect, and maybe they'll change alliances or whatever. But for the most part, they know what their place is. And then the other thing in season 1 is I don't know, the storylines were just more interesting. They just were. It probably goes back to them not, fully grasping what's going on yet. But the whole, save the cheerleader thing. Where the hell was that going to go? You know what I mean? That was really cool. Future Hero showing up. That was really cool. Where was that going to go? Peter's powers. How Peter's powers work. Because he didn't know in the beginning. He didn't know that he could steal powers from other people. He didn't know what was going on. Even up until the Homecoming episode, which is a great episode, by the way, he still didn't know what his powers were and how they worked. He didn't know that he could take Claire's power and regenerate and all that stuff. Really cool. Sylar, as the villain, was amazing in season 1. I would say he's the best villain in the entire series in season 1. He becomes the villain multiple times throughout the series, but he's definitely his best in season 1 as the bad guy. But I think Samuel's my favorite from season 4. He is one of the high points of season 4. He's a really good, really complex, interesting villain. Whereas Sylar is very one-dimensional in season 1, but he does it really well. Because he's mysterious. You don't know who he is and what his intentions are completely yet. You know, what he's capable of. All that stuff. So he's really interesting in season 1. Where did Future Hero go? I wanted to know more about that, but I guess when they changed the future, or changed the timeline, Future Hero disappeared. But wouldn't he have been replaced with another Future Hero? And if he's still Hero, wouldn't he have the inclination to come back and help himself in the past? He did it once. Wouldn't he do it again? Even if he's changed? I don't know. But Future Hero was really cool. A really cool idea. And then he just disappears. You never see him again. I mean, obviously it's the same actor from the future, but you never get to see that alter ego again. Unfortunately. I don't know. Nathan was kind of crap in season 1. He's one of the main characters. He was recurring throughout the whole series. Even in season 4, when he's dead, he's still there because Sylar thinks he's Nathan, and it's actually Nathan's actor playing him. But as far as the story goes, it's Sylar. Sylar can shapeshift. They tricked him into thinking he's Nathan, so he's actually playing the main character Nathan throughout a lot of season. I think it's like the end of season 3 and season 4. But Nathan was crap in season 1. He kind of makes Peter more interesting in a couple of scenes, but that's really it. That's his only contribution in season 1. Angela's character in The Company as the bad guys, that was really cool. The Company kind of disappears in, I think it's season 2, where they fall apart. But The Company as the bad guys are really cool, because it's not one person. The bad guy isn't Samuel, or Adam, or Arthur. You know, it's more ambiguous than that in season 1, and they're not even completely evil. They think they're protecting the world. So I don't know. The Company as the villain was actually kind of cool. Sadly, The Company goes away really quickly. I wish it would have stayed throughout all the seasons. Maybe not all of them, but longer. Much longer than it did. It also had tons of different characters and lots of backstory to go through, how it was created, and all these older members and characters that show up later, like the Invisible Man and all that stuff. It was more interesting than one guy being the big bad guy. The big bad or whatever. I guess technically Sylar was the big bad in season 1, but it was really, at the end of the day, I mean, a lot of it was about the Company. It wasn't about Sylar. The big moments were about Sylar, but the like day-to-day, you know, stuff, the episode to episode was more about the Company. But yeah, Bennett was really good. He was good throughout. He's one of the few actors that I didn't characters that I didn't dislike. I liked him throughout all 4 seasons. He might be the only one, to be honest. He was consistent. He was good. They did interesting things with his character. He interacted differently with all the different people in meaningful ways. He was just good. He was a good character. Let's see. Charlie was really good. The Charlie subplot in season 1 was really good, and then when they kept bringing her back, it just failed miserably. They wrapped that subplot up completely, perfectly in season 1, where Hero goes back in time, he meets Charlie, falls in love with her, tries to save her, finds out he can't because she's dying of a brain aneurysm or something like that, and it was perfect. You know, I mean, it was saccharine sweet or whatever at the end because they have their moment and then she's, you know, doomed to die, but they wrapped it all up with a nice little bow. It all worked. It was really good. Then they brought her back. Then they brought her back again. Then they brought her back in season 4, and none of it mattered because it was already done. Her bringing her back in the ending of season 4 was just stupid. It didn't. I know they didn't know what to do with Hero's character anymore because he's so fucking random when it comes to the overall series. He's all over the place. His character has his fingers in everything, but he's not really important most of the time. He's just kind of there. But they had to find some big moment for Hero in season 4 because he really wasn't part of the main story in season 4, at least not the ending. It was all Peter and Sylar and Samuel. So they had to find something to do with Hero, and they brought Charlie back yet again, and it just felt, I don't know, unnecessary. Yeah, Hero needed something. Or they could have killed him off, you know, way earlier in the series, and that would have been even more epic. I mean, there was many times he should have died, he could have died, and it would have been an epic death and would have been great. Nathan's death made his character more interesting. His death was great, how Peter dealt with it, or didn't deal with it, and then eventually dealt with it. But And then Sylar as Nathan was really cool. Nathan was more interesting after he died. I'm just going to say it. He was. He was more interesting after he died. Far and away more interesting. What else? Season 1. Matt's character was more interesting. He was a cop, and then he found his powers, and then he worked for, I think it was the FBI. I can't remember what the girl's name is, the lady, whatever. But he was more interesting when he was hunting Sylar, trying to use his powers to hunt down Sylar, and then eventually to find out who the company is and stop them and all that. He was way more interesting in season 1. Later on, he's just kind of a MacGuffin. They need someone to control a mind, so they use Matt. They try to make him kind of like this family man, like the ideal family man. He's the one that's kind of come to terms with his power and all that stuff. And I don't know. I just didn't find that interesting. He kind of makes a comeback in season 4 when he takes on Sylar again and he traps Sylar in his own mind and all that. That was pretty cool, but again, most of that was just him as a MacGuffin, just as a plot device, not as an interesting character. His character was good in season 1. He just kind of fell off. The Invisible Man was really cool. Doctor Who. One of the best Doctor Who, by the way. I wouldn't say the best, but one of the best. He's here as Invisible Man, and he could have been a really cool character because he has a backstory. He knows Bennett. He gets to know Peter. He's kind of like Peter's mentor. He's Peter's Yoda, basically. And then he just fucking disappears, and you never see him again. I shit you not. You see him really early on in, like, the I want to say flashback, but not flashback. The premonition of the future, where everyone's freaking out because Peter's going to blow up or whatever, and he's going to destroy New York. That's the big crisis in season 1, that New York's going to blow up. They don't know who it is at the first. First they think it's Sylar, then they think it's Ted, and then they find out that it's actually Peter. But the Invisible Man in that premonition, he's there. You don't know who he is yet, but he's there and he's laughing. Why is he laughing? I don't understand. It did, like, in the premonition, I guess they wanted to make him stand out, but why have him laughing? I don't get. He has no reason to be laughing. For one, he's not that kind of character, and for two, he's about to fucking explode or die with everyone else because Peter's about to explode. So why is he laughing? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. But his character's really cool for the few episodes he's here, and then he just vanishes. Something about him and Bennett and their past, and he doesn't want Bennett to chase him anymore or something. He doesn't want the company to chase him anymore, so he just disappears and never comes back. Which sucks, because for one, his actor is probably the best actor in this entire fucking series, and for two, his character could have been really interesting with the power of invisibility. They kind of bring it back later with this one of billions of secondary characters in this series, Becky. They kind of bring it back with her where she has invisible powers, and she does some pretty cool stuff with them. Innately, invisible powers are cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, from a story standpoint. Because they can do things that the other characters can't react to, right? Even though they're super powered, because they can't see them. Fundamentally, they don't know they're there. So there could have been really cool implications, whatever, with that power, but the guy just disappears, unfortunately. Jessica's the best by far. Jessica, Tracy, and whatever Jessica's, what is her name? Nikki, yeah. The three Nickies, basically, Jessica's the best, and she's the best in season 1, where she's a contract killer. Very cool. She takes on Matt. That's a really cool series of scenes. She goes after Nathan. That's a really cool series of scenes. When she's a badass, basically, she uses her super strength. I think that's her power. I mean, at first, it's like her power is just being crazy. She has a split personality that's actually a person, not a split personality. And then it turns out that her split personality is super strong, and I guess that's her superpower. And later on, it turns out that Nikki can also be super strong. She just didn't know it or whatever. But I guess she's Mohinder. She's Mohinder earlier in the series before Mohinder's super, whatever. But regardless, she's way more interesting in season 1 when she's evil. She's not the villain of season 1, but she is evil. She's the antagonist for a few episodes, and it's actually really cool. Homecoming is probably the best episode in the season 1 by far, where Sylar shows up, and they know he's coming after the cheerleader. The whole beginning of season 1, we have to save the cheerleader, you know what I mean? Like, that's the big thing, who's the cheerleader, and why do they have to save her, and how's it going to save the world, and all that stuff. It all climaxes in the middle of season 1, ironically enough, not at the end. Uh, the end of season 1 is the New York, explosion thing. But the middle of season 1 is arguably the best climax in the entire series, the homecoming, where Sylar finally faces off with Peter. Peter finally kind of understands how his powers work. Claire has a really good moment where Peter saves her, and eventually she finds out that she's related to Peter. I think it's the very next episode. And I swear, like, the relations in this series, just like the ridiculous amount of supporting characters, they go in all kinds of crazy directions where everyone's related to everyone and they just didn't know it. Like, for a while there, Sylar was related to all of the Petrellis. And, I don't know. It's interesting. They're throwing curveballs at you. It's fine. I didn't have a problem with it. But yeah, Homecoming, really good episode. The end of season 1, it's called How to Stop an Exploding Man. Really good episode where it turns out that they finally find out in the last few episodes of season 1 that Peter is the bomb. Peter's the one that's going to explode. But he's already got Claire's regenerating power because he can absorb powers from other people. That's his thing. It's actually arguably the strongest power in the entire series, or at least it was. I don't know what happened. Okay, so in season 1, and I think in season 2, if I remember right, I think it goes into season 2 and then he loses it in season 3. He can absorb powers from anyone he touches, right? So he takes Claire's power, which means he's invincible. He can't die. You can stop him by stabbing him in the back of the head with something sharp, like in the brain, that'll stop him from regenerating, but he won't die. Once you take that sharp object out, he'll just regenerate and come back alive. So he becomes invincible, right? He can fly, like Superman. He stole that from his brother, Nathan, which is one of the most underutilized powers in the entire series. They do nothing with it at all, other than like the obligatory Superman scene where he's flying with his girlfriend, and you get it. You've seen it a million times. But he can fly. He can understand. Eventually, he can understand the way everything works. Again, underutilized. They use it a lot in season 1 as a plot device, and they use it a bit, I think it's season 2, where it helps him solve problems, but then they kind of just throw it under the bus and forget about it. Yeah, pretty much. He can time travel. He's the master of space and time for a while there because he steals Hero's power, which is an amazing power. Let's be honest. Master of time and space. He can go anywhere, and he can freeze, rewind, fast forward, whatever he wants with time. It's ludicrously powerful. Peter gets that power as well. What else? He can move things with his mind. Sylar steals that power from someone, and then Peter steals it from Sylar, but he's got telekinesis. He takes Matt's telepathy, which eventually turns into mind control, so he can control people's minds. So many badass powers, and for the first half of the series, Peter has them all at once. All of them, in one person. All of the best powers in the series in one person. Sylar can kind of do the same thing, but he's always playing catch-up. He always has a lot of powers, but he always, for the first half of the series, has less than Peter does. And Peter utilizes them better. He's smarter about it, right? Like, when he fakes being the president, right, to get to Sylar, he's more inventive with the powers. But, Sylar's more of like a blunt instrument for most of the series. But regardless, Peter, for the most of the series, for the most of the first half of the series, he's like God, basically. He can do anything. And then, I don't know why, they must have explained it and I just missed it somewhere. In the last half of the series, he can only take one power at a time. I know that his father takes all his powers away at one point. Arthur Petrelli, Peter's father, is the villain. He tricks Peter and he's like, give me a hug, when he finds out that he's still alive, that Arthur's not dead. He's like, the first scene that he meets him, he's like, give me a hug because they're son and father and all that. And he gives him a hug and he steals all his powers from him. Okay, fine. I'll give you that, fine. But later in the series, as he gets powers, he doesn't accrue them anymore. He can only take one at a time. I don't know why. And it makes him infinitely weaker. He goes from being God mode, the strongest character in the series, bar none, because he's got all the best powers in one person, to being just another person, because he's got one power at a time. And he utilizes them individually, but it's not as interesting. Because, in any given moment, he doesn't know what the situation's going to be, so he can't just run out and grab a power. Like, find a person that has a power he needs. Whereas before, he had them all, so he could use them situationally. I don't know. I'm not going to say he becomes a worse character in the last half of the series, but he becomes less interesting in the way he was before. It's more about his character later, as opposed to before being him being like a Swiss Army knife of powers, basically. But still, Peter's a pretty good character. Yeah, the NYC exploding thing. I don't know. I don't love the ending to that episode. I like the idea and I love the build up to it, but everything got wrapped up too neatly, too nicely. Really, the only one that lost out in that episode, which is supposed to be a big climactic, massive finale to season 1, was Matt, and even he's no worse for wear in season 2. He got shot like 50 bazillion times, and he's just a human. He's not special or anything. He's special, but he's not like Claire, right? He can't regenerate. So somehow he survives all his gunshots. Again, there's so much going on in this series. Maybe they healed him somehow. I can't remember. But bottom line, it's only him. He's the only one that's really in any danger at the end of season 1. Nathan flies Peter up, which Peter should already be able to fly. So I don't know why he needed Nathan to fly him into the sky or whatever. He already has that power. His powers haven't been taken away at this point, so he should be able to fly. Which begs the question, why does Nathan need to be a hero? Just because, I guess? I don't know. But, they both fly up. Nathan flies away. They think he's dead. He's not really dead. Peter explodes in the sky instead of on the ground, so the city doesn't get blown up. That's the big solution, just to fly into the air. They make a huge deal out of, New York City is going to explode, and how are we going to stop Peter and his power and all this stuff. And at the end of the day, the big solution is just fly, which they've had since the beginning of season 1. Just fly up into the air. It's kind of an anticlimax. Beating Sylar, again, kind of an anticlimax. Hero just teleports in, kind of tricks him a bit and stabs him. That's it. There's no big, massive superhero battle at the end of season 1, which is what I thought was going to be. You get a little bit of fighting between Peter and Sylar, and then Hero just kind of tricks him and stabs him, and Sylar's supposedly dead. But that's it. Really cool concept. They built it up really well, and you thought it was going to be amazing, and the end just really wasn't amazing. It was okay. The end of season 1. Homecoming was way better. Period. It just was. At the very end of season 1, I think it's the end of season 1, they allude to Sylar becoming president, and the specials are all going to get hunted down and rounded up and all this stuff and put in camps and all that stuff. I'm pretty sure it's the end of season 1 or maybe the beginning of season 2. They allude to all that stuff, and all that happens way later in the series. So it was like a premonition or whatever of what's to come, foreboding and all that crap. And really, out of all the crises in the series, I don't know which one was the best, because there's a lot. There's New York City blowing up, obviously. There's the virus, right? That's season 2. The virus is going to wipe out, I think it's 90-something% of Earth's population if they don't stop it, which ends up being all about Mohinder in the end. Other people kind of help him get the information he needs, but really, it's all about him. And then his character inexplicably becomes a supporting character after season 2. You barely ever see the fucker. He just disappears. He's there in a few episodes, but he's not important anymore, not really. For a while there's this danger that superpowers are going to be revealed to the world, and that was going to be some big problem, but then they just kind of forget about it, and it doesn't actually happen. Future Peter comes back, kills his brother, or thinks he kills his brother, shoots his brother, whatever, and that stops him from telling everyone about, we all have superpowers and all this stuff. But they never really explain how it was going to ruin everything, or whatever, how it's going to end their lives, or the world, or whatever. Again, really big series, lots of things happening, lots of characters. Maybe I missed that explanation. But that was another crisis for about a nanosecond, that the supers are going to all be revealed or whatever. The other one after that was that everyone was going to be super. There's some kind of formula, and Peter's father has it in his head that he's going to make the world a better place by making everyone superpowered. He's going to I guess open chain stores and like sell this injection to everyone that wants it. And everyone's gonna be a superhero or whatever. I don't really know how he thought that was gonna help. His character is really strange. He's very, very evil, but he has the least evil motivation out of everyone because the virus was gonna kill 90% of the population of Earth, right? The bomb was gonna kill millions of people. Samuel was gonna kill, I think they said like 100,000 people or whatever. And then, I don't know, I can't remember the other one right now, but his motivation wasn't to wipe out, the Earth's population like all the other villains. It was to make everyone superpowered, which ironically enough, depending how you look at it, is actually helping. I mean, they say that it's bad. The series says that it's bad, but depending on who you are, having a superpower would be fucking amazing. So, I mean, like, he is the most evil character by far, but his motivation, his big mwahaha plan at the end is the least evil by far, right? He'll kill anyone, even his own son, right? He is evil to his core, but his plan isn't, anywhere near as bad as all the rest. But whatever. Those are all the crises throughout the series. I don't know which one is the best. I think the one they handle the best, at least until the build-up, is the first one, the New York blowing up. But stopping Samuel's probably my favorite, because I love his character. Samuel's really good. I'll get to that in season 4. But anyways, that's season 1 in a nutshell. The best season, by far. Vast majority of the characters are at their best in season 1. The best episode of the entire series, Homecoming, is in season 1. So yeah, it's the best series, or the best season by far, period. It just is. Season 2, like I said earlier, is complete trash. For 1, it's only 10 episodes long, and for 2, it's just not that good. There's no memorable episodes, there's no memorable scenes, none of the characters change meaningfully in season 2. Most of season 2 is just kind of forgotten when you get to season 3, like the rest of the series. But I'll briefly go over it. They add a bunch of new characters. Maya, really terrible character. She's supposed to be this lost lamb who can't understand her powers and all this crap, and they don't really solve her problem. They just kind of sidestep it as far as the plot goes. Adam as a villain is by far the worst. By far the worst villain. He's the least interesting, and ironically enough, he's the least powerful too. His only power is like Claire. He can regenerate. That's it. He's not super strong, or he can't time travel. He can't steal powers. He can't make earthquakes. He can't do anything. His big plot, or whatever, again, I must have missed the explanation. I think it was something along the lines of he wanted to release the virus because if humanity, most of humanity dies or whatever, then it'll like somehow reset us or something, like we'll be better people or because of crisis, something like that. I don't remember. But he wants to find the virus, which has been locked away or somewhere, the formula for the virus, which has been locked away in some safe vault, whatever. Begs the question, why did they just fucking destroy it? But anyways, big convoluted plot in season 2. He wants to find the thing and then he wants to release it so he can wipe out most of Earth's population or whatever. And in the end, the weakest climax of any of the seasons, by far. They find the vault, and then Peter just kind of bitch slaps him, and then it's over. I mean, like, there's nothing interesting happens. There's no big, awesome fight. It just ends. The whole subplot of Hero going to the past and meeting Adam Adam has regeneration, like Claire. So apparently, like Wolverine, they don't age. So Adam survived throughout history. He's lived forever. He was one of the original company founders. The big bad guys that were behind the plot in season 1, blowing up New York and all that. It was going to be Peter that was going to blow it up, but they kind of put it all into motion, behind the scenes, puppeteers and all that crap. Adam was the leader of that group because he's lived since, I don't remember when he was born, but he fucking forever, basically. He's really, really old. And you'd think that he would use all his knowledge as, like, as his power, right? He would just be the master manipulator or whatever, and he kind of is, but they do it in the least interesting way possible, so I don't know. I didn't like Adam's character at all. I didn't like the end of season 2. I didn't like any of season 2. Monica's character she kind of appears and then really doesn't do much and then disappears. She's more for Mika than anything, I think. She's like a supporting character. to a supporting character that isn't even that interesting of a character in the first place. But whatever. Molly's character, she's at the very end of season 1 where she's the MacGuffin that lets you find anyone. The company is supposed to have some machine. They think it's a machine that can find any super-powered person on planet Earth. And it turns out it's not a machine, it's a little girl, Molly. She could have been really cool, but they just don't use her for anything interesting. She's there for a little bit of season 2, like intermittently, and then her character just vanishes after that. And they don't do anything with her. There's so many supporting characters that are just forgotten in this series. Caitlin's character, that was the one good thing about season 2, where Peter lost his memories, and he has to find out who he is again, and he meets Caitlin, and they're a thing, and people start coming after him. Elle comes after him, and he has to very quickly catch up, and then he goes into the past and finds the virus and goes back into the future and tries to stop it and all that. His character is actually one of the bright spots of season 2. If there is a bright spot. But yeah, season 2, it's all about the virus, and I think it's at the end of season 2 where they threaten to reveal all the supers. That big crisis, but like I said, yeah, it is, because Nathan gets shot at the end of season 2. And it turns out that the person that shot Nathan is future Peter, his brother. And he did it to stop him from, revealing everything. Revealing their secrets or whatever. I think that's pretty much it for season 2. There's just not much to say, to be honest. Sylar gets his powers back. I think that's in season... Yeah, that has to be in season 2. Because the whole trekking around with Maya thing, which was boring as hell, by the way. And tricking her, whatever, and then eventually... How does he get his power back? He gets his power back somehow in season 2. I can't remember how. I think the serum or whatever. There's some magic serum that gives people powers. Right. That's the threat. That they're going to give everyone powers. He gets that serum, and instead of giving him a random power, it gives him his own power back. Which doesn't make any sense, but whatever. It gives him his power to see how things work or whatever, which, again, I don't know how it works, but somehow being able to see how the world works lets him steal powers. This is a thing, right? Or it's supposed to be. And the way it works is, he's like the, wonder technician guy, where he can just, fix anything and understand anything instantly. So he, cuts the top of their heads off, digs around in their brain, and somehow steals their powers. Like I said, this is a genetic thing. You're supposed to be born with it, or at the very least, take that serum, right, thing to give you powers. How is he stealing powers? I have no idea. But whatever. At the end of the day, he's basically the evil version of Peter. He's Agent Smith to Neo, basically. Where they're both superpowered, and they kind of can both do the same thing. But one's evil and one's good. So. But yeah, he gets his powers back at the end of season 2. Season 3. Way better than season 2, but like I said earlier, it's kind of hit or miss. Episode to episode, plot line to plot line. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. Same for season 4. Daphne shows up. Her character was kind of cool because she's the Flash. She can run really fast. And I don't know. I liked her character, but I don't like what they did to her in the end. Again, she's another supporting character that just vanishes. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I did like her character for a while there until they kind of ruined her and then just got rid of her. Bennett teaming up with Sylar was amazing. Really wish that lasted longer. This is the first time Sylar kind of becomes the good guy. At least I believe it is. Yeah, because he was still evil in season 2 when he was trying to get his powers back. Yeah, okay. So season 3 is where the first time he kind of becomes a good guy because he's actually stopping the supervillains that got released. It's like Batman Arkham Asylum or whatever. The company had a bunch of super-powered evil people locked up. They all get released. And Bennett teams up with Sylar, who, by the way, both hate each other. They both want each other to die, but for whatever reason, I think this is where Sylar thinks that the Petrellis are his family. It has to be. And Angela, who he thinks is his mom, tells him to do this, and he just does it. Even though he's an evil psychopath, he's got, mommy issues, so if mom wants him to do something, he just does it. It's like Psycho, basically. But, yeah, he teams up with Bennett, and it's actually really cool for a while there, because they hate each other, but they have these really cool moments where they kind of get to know each other, and they're working together and all that stuff. It doesn't last very long, unfortunately. Really cool idea. Really cool while it lasts. Doesn't last very long. And then the flip side of that is that Sylar's kind of good. He's not really good yet, but he's kind of good. He's on the side of good at the moment. And then Peter gets Sylar's powers, and he becomes evil in season 3, where he's like, threatening the. Actually, I think he does chop or start to chop some people's heads off, but he doesn't. Not heads, but like the top of their heads or whatever. I think he stops himself, but he because of the way Sylar's power works, being able to understand everything just by looking at it, he has this hunger for knowledge, is the way they explain it, and that hunger is what leads him to murder people and steal their powers because he has to have their powers or whatever. Peter gets that. He absorbs it from Sylar, and for a while there, he threatens to be a bad guy. It doesn't ever actually happen. How cool would that have been if Peter was the actual villain of season 3? That'd have been amazing. That'd have been badass. But it kind of threatens to happen for a couple episodes, and it really doesn't. So, whatever. The eclipse where everyone becomes powerless for, I think it's 2 episodes. Wasted potential. Really cool idea. All these people that are basically gods at this point. I mean, master of time and space and can't be killed by any means, and like all this really cool stuff that they can do, and it's all taken away for a couple episodes. They do nothing with it, really. It could have been badass. It's not. It's wasted. Claire was supposed to be trained to be a badass during season 3. She goes through like martial arts, self-defense training with her father, and they never use it. They never do anything with it. It's completely wasted. It's not like she ever gets in this big badass fight with anyone where she's using her kung fu powers or whatever. It's just wasted. It's gone for the rest of the series. It's a really cool idea because her power already makes her invincible. She can't die. She doesn't have to worry about being hurt. So if she could handle herself, if she could actually fight people, then she could be like, like, I don't want to say cannon fodder, but like the first one out the door, in any situation. Because she's effective, right? She has something she can actually do to someone who's evil or whatever. She can fight them, and she can't be hurt. Instead, she's just kind of in the background for most of the big climaxes. Is she ever actually a part of any of the climaxes? I don't think she is. Season 1, she's just there. She's not doing anything. I think she kind of runs towards Peter, and then he tells her to stop or something, and she goes back. Something like that. She doesn't do anything for the big NYC thing. She doesn't do anything for the homecoming episode. She just runs away, and Peter saves her. Season 2, the virus. Nathan getting shot. I don't think she has anything to do with the climax of that either. She might not even be in the climax. I don't remember, but Nathan getting shot and the virus and all that has nothing to do with her. Season 3, Nathan wanting to imprison everyone. By the way, Nathan dies at the end of season 3. But again, she's not in that. Like the end of season 3, it's Sylar versus Peter. Yeah, I'm sure she's there, but she's not like, an integral part of the climax. And then season 4, it's all Samuel versus Peter and Sylar. So again, she's there, but she's not in the climax. Interestingly enough, she is one of the main characters. Make no mistake. There's a lot of characters here, but there's a handful of them that are recurring. They're everywhere throughout the series. She's one of them. And she's not in any of the climaxes. Interestingly enough. I don't know why I didn't think of that before. But yeah, if she could handle herself, back to the original point, if she could fight, if she became like a martial arts master, or, someone at the very least could handle herself, she could have been a part of the climaxes, like fighting people, fighting Sylar. It wouldn't have been a good idea to fight Sylar, but she could actually do it. I mean, assuming she got the jump on him, she could whop him one or something, like, beat the crap out of him, something. She could have taken on Samuel. Again, probably wouldn't have been a good idea, but he couldn't kill her anyways, so at the very least she could give it a shot. She could definitely take on Adam. She could beat the crap out of Adam. He's not even a good fighter from what I remember. I mean, he's good with a sword because he's back from samurai era or whatever, when Hero went back to find his hero. Hero went back to find his hero. Kensei or whatever. But so he's good with a sword, but from what I remember, he's not particularly great with martial arts. So she could have taken him on. That was a missed opportunity right there. But anyways, whatever. Let's see what else. Nathan kind of going evil was weird. His father shows back up, Arthur, and Arthur has the power to steal powers, which again is kind of like, It's a variation of Peter and Siler's power. Siler's, I don't think it's ever adequately explained, but he can dig into people's brains and then steal powers. Peter can steal powers just from touching people. Sorry, absorb powers just from touching people. And then his father, Arthur, can outright steal powers, as in take them away from you. You don't have them, he does, right? And the first thing he does, pretty much, when he gets back on his feet, is steal all of the badass powers from Peter. Peter has accrued every cool power in the series up to this point, and when he hugs his father just takes them all from him. But, yeah, he shows up, he's evil, mwahaha, he wants everybody to be superpowered or whatever. He gets killed, and then Nathan just kind of takes his place. I guess he just was on board with the philosophy that giving everyone superpowers was going to solve the world's problems or whatever. So he just goes with it, and he becomes evil, and he's like fighting against his own family and all this stuff and whatever. It's really weird. That the end of season 3, I think, is where it is. It goes off the rails a little bit as far as Nathan's character. The internment camps sounded cooler. I don't want to say cool, but sounded like more interesting than it actually was. Danko's character was terrible. Hated Danko. Every scene he was in. Not hated him as in love to hate him. Hate him as in he just wasn't bringing anything meaningful to the series. He's just some generic bad guy that got way more screen time than he should. And when they tried to go into his backstory, it was stupid. Him and his prostitute friend or whatever, and how Matt tries to use her against him, and all this stuff. He's tied into so many different characters, and he just doesn't need to be. I mean, he was tied into Tracy, Bennett, Claire, Peter, Siler, Matt, Mohinder, pretty much everyone. All of the main characters. And he just didn't need to be. His whole character didn't need to be. He just should have been some nameless grunt guy or whatever. Or they should have made him more interesting. In the very end of season 3, Nathan dying was great. It was great actually on multiple levels. For one, his character sucked for the most part. He was better in season 1, but still not good. He was at his best in season 4, but we're not to season 4 yet. That's after he dies. So his death was actually the best thing to happen to his character in the entire series up until this point. And it was really good. Getting to see the other characters react to one of their own finally dying, one of the real main characters finally dying, and how they handled it, it was really good. How he goes into season 4 where Siler is Nathan. Siler has the ability to shapeshift at this point. He also has the ability to touch things and absorb all the memories that object has. Whatever, I don't think objects have memories, but I don't know how the hell it works, but he touches things and everything that object has seen or done or whatever, he knows all of it. So they knock him out. They have one of their friends, Matt, who can dig in people's minds, go into his mind and like fill all of his memories with Nathan's memories. And then they put objects in front of him or whatever for him to touch so he can absorb more of Nathan's memories. Matt kind of suppresses Siler's memories and pushes all of Nathan's memories into that body. And then because the body thinks it's Nathan, I guess it automatically uses the shape-shifting ability to turn into Nathan. So effectively, Siler turns into Nathan. Like mind and body and everything for season 4. Most of season 4. It's really cool. He's like conflicted because he thinks he's Nathan and he has the memories of Nathan, but some of the memories don't make sense. And he has all these superpowers that he shouldn't have. If he's Nathan, he should just be able to fly, but he has all of Siler's powers. And at this point, Siler is the most powerful character in the entire series, bar none. Somewhere in the middle of season 3, he becomes the most powerful by far. After Arthur is killed, probably. Siler becomes the most powerful by far, bar none. At this point, I don't think there's a power he doesn't have. And he has a lot of them that Peter didn't even have. When he was, the strongest. So he's super powered and he has all these powers, but he doesn't know about them, and it doesn't make any sense that he should have them. If he's Nathan, if he's the person he thinks he is. So he kind of goes on this quest to figure out who he is and what the real deal is and all this stuff, and it's interesting. It's good. Nathan's character finally becomes good in season 4 after he dies. Siler getting tricked with the president and all that was really cool. I was wondering how they're going to stop him because he's so ludicrously powered at this point. But Peter steals the ability to shapeshift from Siler. He doesn't know that he stole it, but He steals it, turns into the president, pretends to be the president, and then when Sylar goes to kill him because Sylar wants to become the president and rule the world or whatever, he like injects him with this needle out of nowhere and knocks him out. It's kind of hilarious that someone who's that powerful, he can't die. It's really hard to hurt him because you'd have to get near him, which he has so many ways to stop you. He can basically just instantly kill anyone if he wanted to, before he can do anything. The way they stop him is with an injection, with a needle. They injected this superpowered god with a needle full of like drugs, and it knocks him out. The one superpower he doesn't have is resistance to drugs, I guess. But, yeah, that was a really cool episode, how they finally beat him. One of the better parts of Season 3. I'd say the best parts of Season 3, by far, were Bennett and Sylar coming together as a team. That kicked ass. The ending, where Nathan dies and Sylar gets tricked and all that stuff. And, I don't know. I guess Arthur as a bad guy was probably third best in the series, so he wasn't bad. His whole plot, controlling the other supers and forcing them to do his will and all that stuff, that was okay. It was pretty good. But everything else in Season 3 was pretty bad. Like I said, it was really hit or miss. Some of it was bad, some of it was good, some of it was just underutilized. And then Season 4. Season 4 I wanted to love, but there's so many crappy episodes. I love Samuel. He is my favorite villain by far. He's a really interesting villain. He's kind of got altruistic motivations, but he'll do anything to get them, right? Like, he'll kill people and abuse people and use people and all this. He'll do whatever to get what he wants. And then later in the series, it kind of breaks down more and more because it turns out that the reason he was doing all these things is because he wanted to impress this one woman. That's what it comes down to. He, his love from when he was a teenager or whatever, he wants her back. So he wants to make this perfect world for her where it's like a cottage and like this place where all the supers can live in peace and all this stuff, and it's kind of altruistic and then it's kind of selfish at the same time. But once he finds out that he can't have her, that she doesn't want him anymore, then it all falls apart and he just says, fuck it, we're gonna kill everybody. And then that's the end of Season 4. His power is he can control the earth. And he does it in a lot of cool, interesting ways, but at the end of the day, he's just going to do a big earthquake, and that's going to destroy I think it's New York again. Like, yeah, at the very end of Season 4, none of it is actually in New York, Season 4, but very end, for some reason, they bring it back to New York. They bring the carnival that Samuel runs. That's where he's, like, accruing all these supers. He goes out and finds them and recruits them and brings them to the carnival, and they're a big family, and, you know, they're happy and together and all this stuff, and really what he's doing is the more supers that are around him, the more powerful he gets, so the bigger earthquake he can create. That's his ulterior motive or whatever. But he brings the carnival and all the supers to New York, which is going to superpower his earthquake ability. He's going to secretly use another super who can... She's basically the Pied Piper. She can play music and everyone has to come to her if that's what she wants. And then he uses another super to control that super... This guy's the puppeteer. You see him way back in like Season 1 where he can just control people. He like your movements and what you do. Like physically how you move and all that stuff. So he uses that guy to control the Pied Piper lady and then controls her to lure all the people to New York. And then he's going to use an earthquake to kill everyone. And that's going to prove his power. And his ultimate goal at the end of Season 4, after he loses the woman he loves or whatever, she doesn't want him anymore, his goal is to scare everybody. He wants the whole world to know how powerful the supers are, his group of people are, and that's going to scare them into submission or whatever. They're going to leave them alone because they'll be afraid of them. It's not the way it would work, but whatever. There's tons of problems with the end of Season 4, but I've kind of gotten way ahead of myself, so we'll come back to that. Claire going to college. Some of those episodes are really cool, and some of them are really boring. The whole "is she a lesbian" episode was actually kind of cool. The episode where they finally find the invisible girl, and she has to protect her new girlfriend, pseudo-girlfriend, whatever. It never really happens that she's actually a lesbian, but they allude to that multiple times, and she wants to hold her hand, and she, like, all this stuff. But some of that stuff was good, and some of it was really, really drawn out and boring and unnecessary. Peter as a paramedic, completely boring. He's just going around like using his powers to save people, and they don't do anything interesting with it. The it's kind of just it's kind of just there. This whole like subplot is just there, so he can learn his lesson, right? In the end, that he can't save everyone or whatever, and that never really happens. It never really happens. It never fundamentally changes his character. So again, pointless. Oh yeah, Sylar inside of Matt's mind. One of the highlights of season 4. That was really cool. They hate each other. I mean, pretty much everyone has a reason to hate Sylar, but Matt is no different. He hates Sylar too, and he gets Sylar stuck in his mind, and then Sylar slowly kind of like whittles away at him and gains control of his body and starts using his powers against him and all this cool stuff. When they're in the same body fighting for control, it was pretty cool. I liked it. It actually made Matt's character more interesting for a while there when he was facing off against Sylar. What else? Sylar losing his memories was really stupid. I guess the idea was that he was going to lose his memories and it was going to help him turn into a new person because he's not all evil anymore, but he just goes back to being evil. And then he arbitrarily goes back to being good. I'll get to that in the ending, but it's dumb. Him losing his memories and that whole series, subplot, whatever, was stupid. Letting go of Nathan. Peter and his mother and Claire, Angela and Claire and all of them, they had to let go of Nathan because he was dead. It actually delays it quite a bit in season 4 because most of them don't know that the new Nathan, the one that's actually Sylar, isn't Nathan. The only ones that know are Bennett, Matt, and Angela. And none of them are really close to Nathan other than Angela. And even she's kind of pretending at this point, like pretending more than she probably should be, that it's actually Nathan. But whenever that goes away, whenever they finally let go of Nathan, it's a fucking amazing episode where he literally has to let him go and he falls to his death or whatever. And then Sylar, right after he falls and hits the ground and dies, Nathan, he turns back into Sylar. He stands back up when it's Sylar again. Really great episode. Really good. All of that was good. All of it. And then the ending, or actually the second to last episode was really good, where Matt traps Sylar in his own mind, and then Peter goes in to save him, ironically enough, because he needs Sylar to save Emma, who is the Pied Piper lady. So he initially goes in, not because he cares about Sylar, or he wants to be friends with him or any of that crap. He goes in because he needs him to save someone else, because of a vision he had. He sees Sylar saving Emma, so he needs Sylar. And Matt has trapped him away in his own mind, presumably forever, in this nightmare, where he's alone. He's the only one that in existence. And Sylar doesn't know that it's real, and he kind of denies it for a while, and then Peter eventually convinces him to help him to try to escape this place. And then they come together, and apparently they were in there for 5 years together, because time moves differently inside his mind. And they come out the other side as friends. They trust each other and all this stuff. It's interesting, but it's very arbitrary. It's very artificial. Like, most of those scenes, we don't actually get to see them come together, other than one scene at the very end where they finally trust each other. So, I don't know. It doesn't seem like they earned that. But anyways, all you need to know is Sylar's a good guy again at the end of season 4. And the very end, where everyone meets up at the carnival in New York City, Samuel has brought together tons of supers, and he's convinced most of them that his cause is righteous and that, you know, they're going to live happily ever after. And in reality, his big plan is that he's going to cause an earthquake and kill, I think they said 100,000 people or something like that, and that's going to make the earth fear them. And because they're afraid of them, they won't come after them, or whatever. Something like that. Problems. There's a lot of problems with this, there's a lot of problems with this series, which I'm going to go into very shortly, but there's a lot of problems with that last episode. Okay, 1. How's he going to create a massive earthquake and wipe out the city without killing his own people and himself? Right? If he creates a gigantic earthquake that's just going to wreck the entire, area, everything, or like for miles around, he's like smack in the epicenter of it. How is his own people, his family, the people that he's supposed to be helping, and himself, who's also there, how are they supposed to survive? They never explain that. Not in the slightest. The Sylar showing up as like some big savior of Emma or whatever. It turns out that, which is weird because she says that Sylar saved her, but he didn't. If you watch season 4, the end of season 4 again, she saved herself at the end. Sylar kind of distracted Doyle or whatever, but she's the one that stopped him, right? She whacks him over the head with the cello, I think, or something like that. But she's the one that beats Doyle in the end. Sylar could have been anyone. Sylar did not need to be Sylar. Peter did not need to go into Sylar's mind for 5 years and, save him or whatever. It's completely unnecessary. He could have sent anyone in there to distract Doyle, right? He could have sent Claire. By the way, Claire does absolutely nothing, and like I said, she does nothing in any of the climaxes, so he could have sent Claire in there to save her. All Doyle needed was something to distract him, because he loses focus on Emma, and Emma takes him out. So, another, problem with the end of season 4. The logic behind the end of season 4 is ridiculous. You can't just go massive terrorist on the world, right, and blow up a whole city and expect them to just leave you alone. It's not gonna work that way. That's just dumb. That logic makes no sense. I don't care how afraid of... them being afraid of you, it makes things worse, right, than them thinking you're a threat but not understanding how big of a threat, right? Like, if they know that you can blow up a whole city, they're gonna throw everything they got at you to get rid of you. They're not just gonna, be perfectly content to let you be at large, right? No, sorry. So yeah, the end of season 4 was ridiculous, and then the biggest mistake of the end of season 4 was the very end, where Claire, she shows the world, it goes back to the whole showing the world that supers exist thing, which was supposed to end the world the first time, but this time everyone just seems to be fine with it. Peter comes back from the future, a future that's completely destroyed, to murder his own brother, right, to stop this from happening, to stop supers being revealed, because it's going to end the world somehow, right? And then at the end of season 4, they do just that. They're all standing around, they can all see her, they comment about it, but they don't stop her. They know what this is going to bring, right? It's going to bring the end of the world, or at least they did the first time. But they don't do anything to stop her from doing it. They just sit there and watch as she jumps off this carnival wheel thing, falls to the ground, dislocates her arm and rips up her face and all this stuff, and basically the whole world with the news cameras get to see her regenerate. They get to see in full HD glory her superpower. And then she goes on to tell them about it and all this stuff. So, one of the big crises that they did everything to avert earlier in the series, they just let happen at the end of season 4. And it's a big cliffhanger because they don't tell you what happens. You don't know what happens after the world finds out about them. That's the end of season 4, the end of the series. So, the end of season 4 was dumb in all kinds of different ways. But I couldn't hate it. All the characters were pretty good in season 4, at least all the main characters that were there in the end. Peter was really good in season 4, Sylar was really good in season 4, Samuel was really good, and they all have a big face-off, and Peter steals, as always, the villain's power and uses it against him, which is great. I love that they do that, recurring throughout the series. He always uses their power against them to stop them. It's really cool. It makes things more interesting other than him just being powerful and just beating them always. The same way over and over again. But yeah, I couldn't... As dumb as the end of season 4 was, I couldn't hate it. I couldn't hate it. So yeah, that's the end of season 4. And, I don't know. I don't know if I can actually say... I don't know if I can recommend this series. I can definitely recommend season 1, because season 1 overall was good. But the whole series, is it worth the time investment? I don't think so. I really don't. I want to recommend season 4, but it's not worth watching if you haven't watched the whole series, so... And even season 4 is very hit or miss. It's just the good parts in season 4 are really good. But yeah. The biggest problem this series has, by far, is it's just over-bloated with characters, and subplots, and actors. They're everywhere, and they spend way too much time on screen when they don't need to. Every time they introduce a new supporting character and spend time with them, we get less time with the main characters. We get less time to know the big villain, the hero, and all the other main characters. And that is the single biggest problem with season 2, most of season 3, and some of season 4. And it even happens in season 1. It's just not as bad in season 1. Because the further it gets into the series, the more of these characters there are. And some of them are recurring. So they keep coming back, chewing up time that they have no right being in the scene at all, right? Like, it should not be them. It should be one of the main characters. And a lot of these characters should have been combined into one character. So at least if they're a supporting character, we get to know them more as opposed to less, right? But they're everywhere. I wrote down a list. These are just the ones that I noticed. The Invisible Man, Claire's mom, Claire's real mom. Actually, Claire's fake mom and real mom. Simone, Ted, Angela, the Haitian, Molly, Monica, Daphne, Maya, Mohinder becomes a supporting character for the last half of the series. Caitlin, Adam, Elle, especially Elle. She was completely fucking useless for the series. Arthur, Mika, Danko, all of the boyfriends, except for maybe the one in season 1, but he is a supporting character. But he was kind of crucial to Claire's development, so, yeah. Luke, Siler's parents were pretty important, but they were, again, more supporting characters. They got multiple episodes. Doyle, Emma, Lauren, Edgar, Becky, all of the other Carnival people, all of the main villains except for Siler, just over-bloated as hell with side characters. And most of these side characters get like 5+ episodes that they're in, right? I mean, how many episodes is Elle in? She's in basically an entire season, and her character is completely useless in every way. Maya's character is in an entire season, completely useless in every way. Neither of them contribute anything to the plot, or any of the characters, or their development, or anything. The closest it comes between the two of them is Elle kind of has a relationship with Siler, but he doesn't change. It does not change him as a character at all. I mean, he just goes right back to being evil at the end. So many of these characters are just useless. And so many of them could have been combined into characters that would have lasted multiple seasons, and all this screen time would have combined into a character that we got to know and actually care about. Instead of spreading it across all these characters, it's I don't know why they did it this way. I've never seen a series with this many supporting cast. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, I think what it is this series is built around, if nothing else, subplots. It's not built around the main plot. Every fucking main character is always doing their own thing. Some of it ties back into the main plot, some of it ties back into their own character and their past and all that, and some of it's just fluff. But they're all always separate, off in random tangents doing whatever, right? And because there's so many subplots, each of these individual main characters needs their own supporting characters. Because none of them interact, because they're all doing their own thing. And it just keeps building up and keeps building up over the series. It's ridiculous. It really is. I mean, is Hero ever doing anything with anyone other than Ando? I mean, in a few choice parts of the series, yeah. But the vast majority of the time, he's off doing his own thing, right? It's like it's his own story entirely. Eventually, most of the time, it ties back into the main plot, usually at the end of a season, right? Like, he'll loop back, his story will loop back around at the end of a season and tie back into the main plot, but he's always doing his own thing, right? Siler is attached to probably more main characters than anyone in the entire series, but even him, how many supporting characters are built just for him? The two I just mentioned, Maya and Elle, they both are. His parents are. Luke is. Who else? I can't say Danko is, because Danko was attached to a whole bunch of different people. He's one of the few supporting characters that's actually interacted with multiple main characters. But yeah, so many are just there for him, right? And they do nothing for anyone else. I think the only other person Maya interacted with at all was Mohinder. And he's a supporting character by that time. So it's a supporting character supporting another supporting character. Elle did nothing meaningful for anyone, but she got the most time with Siler, so we'll say that she was, I don't know, whatever. You get what I'm saying, right? It's over-bloated. The series is over-bloated with characters. And the side effect is most of them just aren't, they shouldn't even be there. Or they should be there, but you don't get enough time to actually care about them. One of the two. And it is a problem. But you do have the main characters. And the main characters, for the most part, they're either good or they become good eventually. Like, Nathan's character is pretty ass until season 4, but he becomes good. Siler's character is kind of hit or miss. Some of the time he's really, really good, and some of the time he's really boring. Like when he loses his memories, he's just not that interesting. It's not that he's not evil anymore. He's actually interesting as a good guy, too, when he's helping Bennett. It's just that, I don't know, like he's hit or miss. Peter is extremely hit or miss. When he decides to be hero paramedic or whatever, holy shit, his character falls off the rails crazy quickly. He becomes one-dimensional. He's just not interesting anymore. But, like, there are other moments where when he loses his brother, he's really, really good character. So, I mean, like, I don't know. The main character's hit or miss, and there's just too many supporting characters. And too many subplots, of which at least over half of them are crap. The good ones are really good, but there's so many and they're just not. So, I don't know. I think this series tried to do too much. Way too much. And only some of it worked. So, there you go. Heroes. In a nutshell. Like I said, I don't know if I'd even recommend it. I would at the very least recommend season 1. The problem is you're going to watch season 1 and you're going to really like it, probably, and then you're going to expect that you're going to like the rest, and season 2 is trash. A lot of season 3 is trash. And season 4 is very hit or miss. So, it takes a long time for the series to get good again. So, I mean, even if you watch season 1, it's not representative of the rest of the series. Season 1, and even season 1 is hit or miss. It's just better at it than the rest. So, there you go. Oops. Heroes Rant Review. I'll see you guys next time.